Okay, so once again, welcome. So, as I say, I'm going to try to speak about grace, and we're going to do some practice together around this this experience. So part of it comes from probably all of you know, in Herefordshire there is a retreat centre and an administrative centre for Triratna, and this place is called Adhisthana. And the main purpose of Adhisthana, this building, this set of buildings, is to ensure that the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha are reflected upon, enjoyed, and sort of guided into people's lives. And possibly it's not insignificant that at Adhisthana we have, this is the burial place of Sangharakshita, the founder of the movement. So I'm going to be attempting to say something about this term Adhisthana in a way to celebrate the Buddha, particularly as a conduit for grace. But also I'd like to just include within that, this talk is a way to honour Sangharakshita, who created the doorway and articulated a path into this lineage of grace for us all here. Triratna, the founding of Triratna, this conduit for grace, has come from Sangharakshita. So I'm just going to start by trying to define this term Adhisthana. So it's actually quite a complex term, I discover, but I think it's I found it really interesting to explore these sort of different ways of describing Adhisthana. So the first thing it describes itself, this phrase, this term Adhisthana, is that it's that which is rested upon, the foundations, the base, particularly in relation to a temple. So it's the foundations of a larger complex or a larger expression of the divine. But it's also, Adhisthana is said to be also, it's the standing place of a warrior, particularly on a chariot. So there's this sense of where the warrior stands is the Adhisthana. And it's also described as an abode, a seat from which blessings pour. So this is certainly the area that I'm particularly interested in. There's something about this sense of the blessings, and these blessings is certainly the thing that drew me into the Dharma life, into trying to understand my own experience of grace, of blessings, and eventually that exploration led me to a Buddhist center. So this term Adhisthana, the Tibetan tradition, begins to extend this this term of grace, Adhisthana. It creates a sense of it being a reciprocal relationship. So we, in our own way, move towards, and in return, we receive the blessings of this from this place, from this field. So Adhisthana, there's something here that's describing the foundation of the temple, and this is intimately connected to a wave or a thread or a continuum of sensations. And it's actually these sensations arising that create the rain of blessings. It's through the knowing of sensations that we receive the blessings. So I realize all that's a bit abstract, but I hope just as a way of kind of setting up a direct experience of this, I hope that's enough just to give a few pointers of what I'm trying to talk about today. Well, I'm hoping we can have a direct experience. Obviously, this is the aim of the meditation, is to take us from the theory to the practical. So what would like you to do is just invite you now to get ready for a short meditation. So we're going to do two periods of meditation with a space in between for a discussion. And of course, as usual, there'll be a discussion at the end. But let's begin by taking time to set up our meditation posture. Taking time to find our breath, and particularly our out breath. And I invite you to just track the sensations of the breath. Breath in the throat, in the upper chest, the breath in the heart area, the breath low in the belly. The sense of the breath flowing down through the sensations of contact with the earth. It's almost as if the breath encourages our attention down into those simple points of contact. Knowing that we are sitting on the earth. Breathing with the earth. Tracking the sensations of our breath. and encouraging our attention up to the area around the heart. Knowing the sensations of the breath in the area of the heart. And can you name the sensations that you're noticing? Describe the sensation. Sensations of the breath around our heart. And just notice, do we need to draw on images of association? So does the breath have a color or a shape? The sensations evoke any particular quality of a landscape. So we're using our capacity to imagine, to recall, to describe in an attempt to bring clarity to the breath, the sensations of the breath. So in a way, we are using mental activity to describe, to conjure, to sift, imagine, interpret, evaluate. And these methods, and we recognize that we use these capacities much of the time. And that this is the magician of the mind at work, defining our knowing, defining our very being. This magician mind is filtering sensations, building and rebuilding the narrative of our life. So without judgment, can we notice the magician at play? the gift and the veil of the mind. Continuing to rest our attention at the heart center, noticing the breath coming and going. And the invitation in this second stage is to just notice your capacity to find and explore the sensations of our breath. Can we notice and feel into this capacity to focus, direct our knowing to specific areas of our sense experience? We are choosing to rest our attention at the heart center. Can we really find, notice, and celebrate this wondrous quality of capacity for directionality, this capacity to direct our attention, to focus and be with the breath. So can you notice this capacity for directionality of attention? This is usually referred to as mindfulness, the gift of mindfulness. In mindfulness, this directionality is connected and yet distinct from mind, from mental activity. So just continuing to allow our breath to come and go. Resting our attention on the heart. So what is being directed through this directionality of attention? What is being directed towards the heart center? What is directed is awareness itself. this capacity to see, to be with, to know, and to know that we are knowing. So I just invite you to relax and simply rest in knowing, letting go of any directionality, letting go of any mental activity. Simply rest in a field of knowing. The sensations of body and mind arise and fade in awareness. So can you notice this field of knowing in which you are participating? This awareness which is neither yours nor mine, yet it is here. Awareness and sensation arising simultaneously. And this is the field of awareness. And grace arises through this field, within this field. So allowing ourselves to relax and open to this sense of being blessed by awareness itself. So I'm going to just say a bit more before we move into a second sit. So I invite you just to relax, if it's comfortable, if it's right for you. Just come out of the meditation space If you're happy just to be as it is. So I'd like to just bring in at this point a sutta, a text from the Buddhist tradition, which I find really important to bring this sense of grace into relationship to awareness itself. So this is the text. I'm just going to read it and then I'll say something about it. It's from the Nibbana Sutta. So I've heard on one occasion the Blessed One was staying near Savatthi at Jeta's Grove. And on that occasion, the Blessed One was instructing, urging, rousing and encouraging the gathering with Dharma talk concerned with unbinding. And all there were receptive, attentive, focusing their entire awareness, listening to the Dharma. And on realizing the significance of this, the Buddha spoke. There is an unborn, an unbecome, an unmade, an unfabricated. And if there were not that unborn, unbecome, unmade, unfabricated, there would not be the case that escape from the born, become, and made and fabricated could be discerned. But precisely because there is an unborn, an unbecome, an unmade, an unfabricated, escape from the born, become, made, fabricated is discerned and possible. So I find it very beautiful that the Buddha is pointing out that there is something within our experience that is not bound by conditioned existence, not bound by our habits, our cyclical, reactive way of being. But there is something else in our experience which we have access to. And for me, it points to the nature of awareness itself. The fact that we can come into awareness is incredible. This is actually the whole of the spiritual path. It creates the gap, the space in which we can bring choice to our experience, but also the gap within which the blessings can arise. Hopefully I'm sure we all know that at some level awareness isn't ours. It is this unfabricated, unmade experience. It's not something we own or can have any control over. It simply comes to us. We probably all know that experience of being completely lost in thought, adrift in some way, particularly in meditation maybe. And then by some magic, we come back into awareness. So how does that happen? I find that endlessly fascinating, that we are gone, lost in our experience, in thought, lost in habit, and then something happens, something breaks back in, creating that knowing, brings us back into wakefulness. And what happens when we come back into awareness? One of the things that happens is that we probably, in that awareness, we notice things more vividly. We see things more clearly, brightly. And I think it's as if the world is revealing itself to us through awareness. It may not be just in meditation. We might be out walking and just something calls our attention. We're kind of called into awareness. And this is a gift. It wakes us up. It brings us more vividly alive. It breaks us free of the reactive, the cyclical, and the blind activity. To me, that act of being brought back into awareness is the gift of grace of the Buddhas. Just to simply acknowledge, recognize awareness as a state of grace. In some way, this opens us into the gifts that are arising within and around us all the time. The grace arising in the world. I'm just going to read a poem before we go into another period of meditation, just to explore this a bit further. This is a poem by David White, which maybe captures what I'm trying to say in a slightly more poetic way. And this poem by David White is called "Everything is Waiting for You." Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. So put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. We're just going to go back into meditation again. setting yourself up relaxed and alert in your meditation posture. So beginning by naming, mapping, differentiating the sensations of the body. Using the helpful magician of the mind that begins to create a map of our body. Locating those senses, those sensations that are to the fore, and those which are more subtle, half seen. It's taking time to build a sense of the whole somatic cloud of the body, a cloud of sensations and knowing through the felt sense. And using this capacity for directionality to explore the nooks and crannies of our being. If it's helpful, particularly extending the direction of our attention to the areas of the map that seem to have no particular sensation present. Beginning to get a fuller sense of the energetic, alive, somatic field. Using our mental activity and this capacity to direct our attention to bring into focus our aliveness. And now inviting you just to release, relax our directionality of mind. Just open into awareness itself. The awareness that contains the somatic cloud of sensation, which is unbound, utterly open. Unfabricated. Awareness itself as the ground and the grace of the Buddhas. The Buddhas of the past, the present and the future beckon us into awareness. Invite us to rely on the simple grace of awareness. Rest and be nurtured by awareness. The Buddha calling to us through this beautiful dance of manifestation of sensations, in this open field of awareness. This open field of awareness is the adhisthana of the Buddha. Adhisthana as the ground of being. Below the magician of mind, we arrive at the base of the temple upon which everything stands, out of which everything arises and fades. This field of awareness is the standing place of the warrior that receives protection through honoring and devoting themselves to awareness. The warrior stands or sits right here, nowhere else. The warrior standing beyond right or wrong, simply standing with what is right here. Yadhisthana, grace of awareness. Creates an engulfing wave of splendor, a flood of pristine, bright, lucid gifts. The purity of simple sensation. Resting in the stream of awareness. The falling rain of blessings manifesting as sensations, arising and fading in awareness. Resting in awareness. honoring awareness, this precious thread, this continuum that makes possible the arising of blessings. This is the gift to us from the Buddha and the source of all blessings.